Is coding still worth learning in 2024? That's the question that I want to answer today. There are a few wrinkles to this question in 2024 that make it a hot topic, like the saturation of junior level talent from university programs, boot camps, and self-taught programmers, coupled with the introduction of generative AI that can write software, like Devin, that was recently released by Cognition AI. Fear not, I don't think this situation is doom and gloom for software engineers. There is still lots of space in the industry for people who want to learn how to code for a living. However, that's not to say that it's going to be easy. It's not. There are several things you'll want to keep in mind if you're contemplating getting into coding, like why you need to focus on yourself first, not the talent market or the AI, the saturation of junior level talent, the hiring tendencies of different sized companies, and the effects of AI on the market as a whole. I'll break it all down in this video. Let's dive in. The first thing you gotta do is to focus on yourself. Let me get this point out of the way. For many people starting out, the allure of programming is that it's a lucrative career. And I get it. It's lucrative because the problems we solve aren't easily solvable by the masses. Software engineers think about problems from many angles. We make tough decisions for the business, taking into account competing priorities from different stakeholders. We think about things from a product lens, how our decisions will affect users and clients. We contemplate the system implications like robustness, future-proofing, and developer ergonomics. And as far as I can tell, the career will remain lucrative because we're paid to think about these complex problems that AI cannot solve, at least yet. I'll touch on the AI topic a little bit later in the video, so stay tuned for that. So while coding is a lucrative career, that doesn't automatically make it worth pursuing for everyone. The obvious question you need to ask yourself here is, do you enjoy sitting in front of a computer a lot? And do you like to solve intellectually tough problems? If the answers here are a no, then there's very little value in contemplating becoming a programmer. Coding can be quite fun, but it's certainly not for everyone. There are some of these easy to answer questions that you can use to do an audit and do an honest self-assessment, because you don't want to end up in a place where you don't actually enjoy what the job entails. With that out of the way, the next thing to consider is the market saturation of junior level talent. Yes, the market for beginning talent is more saturated than before. This is the reality of any market opportunity. We had a big shortage of developers when the landscape of technology was changing in the late 2000s to the early 2010s. Web development became far more accessible and the SaaS industry was being flooded with new ideas. That brought about a big gap in the labor market. We needed more developers to make software on the web. And to fill this gap, free and paid online courses, coding bootcamps, and university programs have come along. And they've created an environment where becoming a junior level developer is more accessible and easier than ever. What does that mean for you? Don't expect many companies to turn their heads at your project. That said, the market for talented developers with a track record of building awesome stuff isn't really that saturated. If you build something that the world needs and people actually use, you will be able to find employment eventually. This leads me to my next point about what companies are actually looking for. Companies hire programmers that exude risk-reducing potential. Companies don't hire junior programmers because junior programmers present an inherent risk. Think about this from the company's perspective. A junior needs to be shown the way and be taught how to code in some cases. That's a huge investment on the part of the company, and they need to be able to expect a return on their investment. And junior level talent is likely to end up leaving after a short time, like a year, because they have more leverage in the marketplace with some experience under their belt. And yes, the company could pay you more after a year to match the market demands, but that does not eliminate the risk of juniors entirely, because the junior could leave for a variety of different reasons, not just financial. And when that junior leaves, the investment that the company made goes down the drain. This is the inherent risk in hiring. So companies look for mid-level and senior programmers who can be productive from day one to mitigate that risk. That means you need to set your sights on becoming better than a junior engineer. I say just be as good as mid-level engineers and be open to being paid like a junior at the onset. This is how most people get their foot into the industry anyways, based on my experience teaching at Hack Reactor. Realistically, this process will take at least 9 to 12 months of dedicated focus and effort. Once you have a job and 1 to 2 years of experience doing well at your first job, it will give you leverage in the labor market. The exception to this is big tech and larger publicly traded companies. These companies tend to combat the churn of software developers by having providing a way for entry-level talent to make its way into the company. For example, they have internship opportunities for university students, and they have recruiters actively reaching out to candidates with just a little bit of experience under their belt. The abundance of these opportunities will fluctuate with the trends of the current economy. But the point is, bigger companies have large enough workforces with significant churn. This makes it necessary to combat this churn with a fresher workforce. Now, if you're a university student, the good news is that you have a unique edge in this realm. Most internships aren't available to self-taught programmers and bootcamp grads. The next thing to consider is that the market is going to be disrupted with AI in the near future. Now, these are uncertain times for many skilled workers because of the advent of generative AI. And what I do know about this technology is that they will only get better with time. And this might be of concern to you, and I get it. But just know this, the technology still has its limitations. Let's look at its fundamentals. Modern generative AI tools are built through what we call the transformer model. This is a training model that uses a variety of information for its training, including text, images, videos, audio, and more. It uses pretty much anything you can find on the internet and whatever we're able to feed it. And the reason why generative AI in the recent years has made such monumental progress in what seems like a short time is that the training through this transformer model is finally coming to fruition. Now, what does this mean for us software engineers? In my opinion, realistically, based on what I've seen using tools like ChatGPT and GitHub Copilot for programming, in the near future, the busy work that doesn't require lots of analytical thinking, like turning a design into semi-functional code or writing code that fires off requests against a documented API, or otherwise using tools that are well documented online, is going to be largely supplemented by help from AI. However, there's still going to be lots of human verification needed every step of the way. But I can see a world where 90% of the easier rote repetitive work that we do will be taken care of by AI. And in the middle to longer term, more complicated tasks that require investigating into the context of a company might be handled with the help of AI. That said, where AI falls short is its ability to judge why solution is better than another. That's because AI can't feel like humans and it's literally not thinking. It's just regurgitating likely outputs based on past patterns. With the current state of AI, these generative tools will not be able to do things like think about the implications of our decisions to end users, determine existing use cases based on code, understand why a certain piece of code exists, or optimize for long-term maintainability based on how a human would judge the code in the future. Generative AI is not equipped to understand human emotion and thinking. That's not to say AI won't eventually get there, but the current technology is limited in this regard because of the fundamental building blocks. Look, I obviously don't have any guarantees for you. No one does. But I urge you to do your own research on how this technology works, and then think critically about how you might be affected by it. If you draw your own conclusions, you're gonna have a lot less worry going into this. Okay, so in conclusion, coding is still a great career to get into if you enjoy programming. It's honestly a very privileged position to be doing work that you enjoy and be paid well for it. If you enjoy spending time on a computer and like to solve problems, I think you should at least dabble in coding to see what it's actually like. However, the reality is that the low-hanging fruit of abundant entry-level jobs are not going to be around, if there even are any of these opportunities left. You're going to need to invest time and energy to become as good as other professionals in industry. Considering these factors, the industry will naturally prune people out that don't enjoy coding. And honestly, that's probably not a bad thing. I don't believe that anyone should stick around for something that they don't enjoy anyways. On the other hand, if you do enjoy coding, then you'll naturally gravitate towards building things and becoming competent over time. And with that time and body of work, employment opportunities will eventually make its way to you. If that sounds like something you want to invest effort into, then check out my coding career newsletter. I send insights on how to be an effective programmer and high-performing individual. I'll leave a link to it in the video description. And that's a wrap. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to the channel for more videos on coding and software development. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.